Are you looking to stay informed about what's going on in Madison without the media spin? Well, here's the latest news from the Wisconsin Assembly Chambers brought right into your home. Directly from the office of your representative, who truly values his constituents' feedback and in always working hard on the issues that matter to you. Welcome to the Ramthun Report.
Hello, fellow patriots. We're here in the West Wing of the Capitol. Let's get right into our 13th episode. The theme for this week's episode: where is the accountability? This week's hot topics include a quick budget process update, where Rep. Ramthun also speaks about the need for more accountability here in Madison, both outside and inside the Capitol building. We also look at the governor's latest addition to his list of vetoes and a message from Representative Ramthun about how Wisconsin parents can fight against critical race theory in our schools. And lastly, we hear an answer to Bob Miller's Ramthun Request. As always, don't forget to make your Ramthun request by following the link in the descriptions so we can bring your issues to the table. First, let's hear Representative Ramthun give us an update on the budget and give us some insight into the need for accountability both inside and outside the Capitol.
First and foremost, I will tell you that my initiatives with assisting in the budget process are apparently gaining some traction. We have a couple of things that we're doing from a budget perspective. First of all, we're taking the governor's submittal and just pretty much carving it out to nothing. We're stripping out all of the policy related matters, and we're going to focus specifically on the financial element. And then from a financial perspective, we're moving to baseline budgeting, and we're going to reset the base. So that's great news, because 2 years ago at this time approximately, I was the only freshman legislator who voted no on the budget because it was way too much money. We are looking at expanding the process to incorporate a justification for any dollars spent. We're looking to go back to agency appropriations and bring things back to a starting point prior to current time. Basically, we're going to reset the budget back to zero and baseline. So I'm extremely excited about that. Well, that's item number one. Item number two, I'd like to touch on briefly with bureaucracy on process to move issues, whether it's bills, governance in general, the learned behavior and status quo element that happens in this building on a regular basis. My focus is accountability 24/7, 365. I work of, by, and for the people all the time. I never waver on issues. And if I talk about the executive orders, I was the only legislator who wrote 5 joint resolutions to end the mandate for the masks and to end the abuse of using executive orders in order to incorporate emergency orders. I'm the only one that did it, and I fought from, July until January to get that done. And it took a lot of work, because inside the process, you've got to have both bodies involved, and you've got to get consensus and support with any initiative you have. And I just wanted to let everybody know that I never waver on my focus and my conviction, and I want transparency, I want accountability, and I want that passion to be contagious with the rest of the membership of this body, and I want that to move into the governor's executive branch as well. So right now we have a situation there where we can't get things done as well as we should for the benefit of the people because of that obstruction that's coming. The orchestrated, scripted obstruction that's coming from that branch in our government is causing us great issue in getting things done right. One other thing I'll run past you accountability wise. We had a lot of riots last year, and they weren't protests. They weren't peaceful. They were riotous. They were people were hurt, people were killed, businesses were damaged, property was damaged. And even here at the Capitol grounds, statues were destroyed. I'm working with multiple representatives. The representative from the 55th and I are working, as well as 2 other members of the Assembly, to put together a bill that holds people accountable when they step over the line of law and order anywhere in the state. And so being able to have your First Amendment right and to speak your point, not a problem. To be able to apply for a permit to march and perhaps protest, not a problem. But when you start breaking stuff and hurting people, it's handcuffs and steel bar hotel. And oh, by the way, you're going to pay for the damage you caused too. So that's what we're looking at doing there. I try every day to make sure that I can address getting things done here quicker and better and changing the status quo and the learned behavior element. I know there's a lot of pressure out there from constituents. Well, why don't you do this and why don't we do that? It doesn't quite happen that easy. I don't know if that's the definition of how government turns and burns, but there's layers of bureaucracy and layers of people you have to get through. Majority rules, but ultimately you have to get the legislative body and the executive branch on the same page to get things done. And that's what I'm working on doing every day. So that's my update. Thanks much for your time, and Godspeed. We'll talk to you soon. Bye now.
We hope you know how important it is to share this message to help us shed some light on these issues so we can create more transparency and accountability in Wisconsin. It is vital that we reveal the truth and support those who truly fight for the people. Since this episode is about accountability, let's hear about the tabs we've been keeping on our governor's actions over the course of this session and send out a message to our parents who are concerned about critical race theory being taught in our schools.
Of the 47 bills that have reached the governor's desk, he's vetoed 17 of them. And a majority of those bills were, actually all of them were good for Wisconsin. A majority of them focused on the appropriations of federal monies to help Wisconsinites, which were all vetoed because Governor Evers wants to do everything himself. There was a couple in there that were important to the peoples of the 59th, and I know to the majority of the state, regarding the ability to go to church and to not have vaccines mandated. He vetoed those as well. I think the manner in which government currently processes here in Madison right now is crap. It's just crap, because you've got 132 legislators working of, by, and for the people to get legislation approved through process that includes informational hearings, public hearings, executives, and all the opportunity in the world to talk about the pros and cons. And these bills are passing through process. And they get to the desk and one person says, essentially, I think there's a few more than that, but the governor says no, and he vetoes them. And it's a significantly huge loss to our state. It's a significantly huge waste of time for the process and the people performing the work to get these things addressed for the people. That doesn't happen here. And I'm getting real tired of it. The next thing I want to touch on briefly is critical race theory is a topic of concern that's coming to my office from various entities up to and including the educational elements of our state. We have teachers very concerned about this critical race theory, or CRT, and I want to let everybody that's viewing this know that your focus should be on your local school board. The DPI can include critical race theory and set it as a standard in process, but it's approved by the school boards locally for each of the 421 public school districts to allow it to happen in your respective school district. So if you have concerns about critical race theory, start with your grassroots and your school board levels and move up from there.
Recently, we saw the governor send out a message that he won't support the GOP lawmakers because he supports the people. He seems to think that the legislators here weren't chosen by the people to represent the people, and that his agenda should override your voices. We cannot stress enough how important it is to share this message to keep the people informed on what they can do to fight back against these agendas. If you want to see some accountability, then share this message and join the fight with us. Lastly, we hear a response to Bob Miller's Ramthun Request. I think you will find this segment is also looking for some accountability.
I do have, as I understand, one Ramthun Request from, thank you, Jared, from Mr. Robert Miller from Kewaskum. Bob, thanks for your message, which states, for the first time I'm reading it, with more and more push for these UTVs to run the roads, I believe we should set some statewide rules. They should have to carry liability insurance similar to a car or pickup truck with the same state limits, as I know they are not supposed to go over 35 miles an hour, but we all know everybody does not follow the speed limits. That's why I believe they should be forced to carry insurance. Thank you for your time. Bob, I agree with you without question. In fact, ironically enough, for my wife, I just picked up a UTV for her this past week. It's a pre-Mother's Day gift because she's a fantastic lady and she deserves everything, and she wanted a UTV, so she got a UTV. But anyway, I'm not so sure I knew about the 35 miles an hour, Bob, but hey, thanks for telling me. But as far as insurance goes, I'll look into it. I will look into that. I think it's a responsibility, it's a dutiful obligation for people not only to care for their equipment that they purchase for whatever it costs them, new or used, but I also think for having the protection from damages if they have an accident like a car does on the road. I think that's what you're after here, Bob. You want to treat UTVs, they're four-wheel motorized vehicles, just like a car, which is a four-wheel motorized vehicle. I couldn't agree with you more. So I'll see what I need to do at the state level. I always want to check local government, municipality ordinances first and then move out to the state versus having the state start it and then bring it down onto the municipality. That big government, big brother stuff kind of, I don't go for that too fast. So we'll see how it plays out, but I will poke it. Thank you for asking the question.
If you made it this far into the episode, then it's clear that you understand the need for us to hold people and governments accountable. Share this content with as many of your fellow patriots as possible and help us create a movement that truly stands up for the people. This concludes our 13th episode of the Ramthun Report. Don't forget to check the links below and make your Ramthun request for our next episode. Together, we can truly restore the principles of a government of, for, and by the people. We'll see you next week. God bless you and yours always.